What makes a game rewarding for the player? I posed this question to some friends of mine, and they all had some very insightful answers. One of them said that for him, it was good characterization and character development, like Kratos in God of War 2018, as he learns to be a father and connect with his son. Another said that for him, it was noticeable progress made in his skill at playing the game over the course of time. Another friend said that for her, it was serotonin and a good plot. And another friend said boobs. What I noticed as an underlying theme in a lot of their answers was the idea of meaningful player progression. What I mean when I say meaningful player progression is the ways in which the game makes the player feel like they've had some impactful progression in the game, whether that be through their character developing and connecting with their son, or the player learning a new combo and finally being able to pull it off. Player progression can be such an empowering thing because of how video games are unlike other mediums of entertainment in that they make you an agent in the world in whatever way, making the progression feel like it happened because of you. There are many types of games that achieve this meaningful player progression in many ways, but there is a type of game that often fails to make that progression feel deeply meaningful: idle games. Idle games, also known as clicker games or incremental games, are games in which the player performs simple actions like tapping or clicking on the screen repeatedly to grind something. The player then uses what they are grinding to upgrade things to increase the rate of grinding. They are often called idle games because the game grinds for the player even when the game or app is closed. It just makes the grinding faster for the player to click repeatedly. A lot of people play these games as simple time killers, and because of that simple satisfaction of seeing their numbers go up and get bigger. I call this the simple satisfaction of the snowball. It gives us a bit of dopamine to see something grow and snowball into something bigger and bigger, and that is what idle or clicker games provide. It's why a lot of them have massive numbers in them, because it provides a simple satisfaction. It's an endless grind with never-ending goals to keep the player hooked on this dopamine drip. As soon as the player completes one goal, there's another goal that's just as easy to get, so the player keeps clicking to get that little dose of dopamine. Some idle games I've played give you the option to start over, but stronger. It entices you with the satisfaction of feeling overpowered, but really it just keeps you trapped in the loop. The simple satisfaction that comes from idle games is not the most meaningful, because idle games don't fully actively engage the player. Gameplay should actively engage the player in order to meaningfully reward them. Idle games can be like having a robot play chess for you, but you get a cookie every time it wins. And if you clap your hands for the bot, it'll play faster, meaning you get more cookies per minute. And if you get 50 cookies, you can upgrade the bot so the bot can play even faster and earn even more cookies. It's not as rewarding because the player is not actively engaged and participating in the game. You didn't really do anything meaningful to earn the cookie. Part of what makes games rewarding to play is what the player puts in. Like how it's super satisfying to finally beat that boss in Elden Ring because the player put in the work to earn that victory. To put it simply, rewards are more satisfying when you earn them. Progress is more meaningful when the player is an active part of it. There is certainly progression in idle games that does give the player some level of satisfaction or a feeling of reward, but they fail to be more than surface level satisfactory. A lot of them don't require much of the player. In fact, many advertise how you can earn rewards or currency without doing anything. It's this shallow player input that makes this progress feel less significant. The player isn't giving much for the reward, so the payoff doesn't feel as great. Getting 50 million cookies doesn't feel the same as solving that one puzzle that's been stumping you, or getting that perfect run on Neon White, or carrying your lane in League, seeing Kratos develop as a father in God of War, or finally getting an S on that song in Trombone Champ. Because idle games are designed to be so lightly committal for the player and require such passive engagement, They aren't able to provide a truly deep, rewarding feeling of progress. Now, I think idle games do actually propose an idea that can be good in theory, just is often not well executed. The idea that progress can happen idly and without player control does sound great sometimes. There have been times in which I've had to grind and grind away in an RPG so I would be high enough level or have enough money to get better equipment. Well, the combat was fun at first. It quickly became a repetitive slog in which I wasn't thinking or actively engaged. I was just mashing buttons repeatedly to get experience. While this does stem from the issue of not properly balancing leveling systems, that is not what I'm here to talk about today. Right now, my point is that progressing can be a slog, and the game grinding for me doesn't seem all that bad sometimes. But in order for this system of idle progress to succeed, and where idle games often fail, is that there needs to be another part of the game that actively engages the player. And there is a game I played recently that actually succeeded at this. A game called Loop Hero. Loop Hero is a roguelike game where your hero progresses on a set path, battling monsters all automatically and without player control. The player has no control over the hero or battles. It progresses without the player. However, the game still has other mechanics that keep the player actively engaged in the game. The game is also a deck builder of sorts. The map and path start out empty with just a couple slimes that occasionally spawn, but the player is also dealt a hand of cards, and the player can place these cards to add terrain, monsters, and buildings onto the map, which will all provide some effect. You'll get dealt more cards for defeating monsters on your journey. You get different cards to add to your deck by upgrading your home base with resources collected on runs. And these cards can also have different effects on each other. Like, a vampire mansion will cause vampires to spawn, and a village will heal the hero and give them quests as they pass through. However, if you place a vampire mansion next to a village, it becomes a ransacked village, and it'll now spawn ghouls. But, after 3 loops, it transforms into the Count's Land, which gives the hero better healing and quests. There's another level of strategizing and experimenting with how the cards will affect each other, and the game does not tell you. You must discover and find out for yourself the relationship between the cards. So the game has this idle mechanic, but has this other level of strategizing what cards to put in your deck and how to place them to best benefit your hero on his journey. There's some risk versus reward in that placing tougher monsters will net you better loot and equipment for your hero, but it could be too much for your hero to handle. The game actively engages the player by not having them control the hero, but controlling the journey of the hero and the path they walk. The hero progresses on their own, but as a player, I feel like I was a part of that progression, and it was meaningful, because I was the one who thought out and laid the path for them. I was actively engaged, just in a different way, and I felt rewarded for it. My thoughtful planning was what led the hero on the successful journey. So, in sum, games can feel rewarding when the player feels an active and meaningful sense of progression in some way. I feel a lot of idle games don't fully succeed at this, and only have some surface level satisfaction of progression, but I can see the potential positive aspects of them that can be pulled off well, such as in Loop Hero. Video games are such an impactful and powerful medium because of how we can feel a part of them in many ways, and that can make them feel deeply meaningful.